What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Today we're talking about one of the biggest trends in bass fishing. It's these baits that look like poop. I mean, that's what they are, little poop baits. So this is kind of a new trend, but it's been out for a few years. I mean, this came out from Japan. I mean, really the original, the OG is the Depths Cover Scat. I've been fishing for a couple years now, but it seems like everybody's got one now. We got the Fish Arrow Heavy Poop, which is also one of the originators. You got the Yamamoto Yamatanuki, that comes in two sizes now. You got the Spro Craw Nugget, you got the Missile Baits Bomba. I mean, there's so many of these, and the reason why it's so popular is because they work. They're very unique baits. They fall kind of like a Senko. They have that soft stick bait kind of bite-size appeal, even less intimidating than a Senko or other stick bait, but they work really well. So I'll talk to you a little bit about how I've been fishing them and what makes them so different if you haven't tried them and why you need to use them. So like I said, the first one I ever used was a Depths Cover Scat. I put this thing on and I was like, what does this thing do? It casts it really well because it's so heavy, it's heavily salted, and it falls kind of like a Senko or another stick bait, like I said. But it also will backslide. If you cast a pitch into a dock, it will slide backwards into cover. I've caught fish doing that around docks. I've caught it laydowns, beaver dams, all these places. It works really well for it. Now, the other thing that's cool about it is that's not the only way you can fish it. You can fish it very deep. You could cast it out deep and just drag it along, kind of like you would a football head over rocks, things like that. It works extremely well for that. It does take some more patience and kind of the right conditions to get that bait down there, so you don't have too much of a bow in your line. There's a lot of factors that go with this, having the right line size, but it works extremely well. I like to fish it very similar to how I would a finesse football jig. So a 12-pound fluorocarbon, casting into 20-25 feet of water, but it's a very slow way of fishing. So ideally it's somewhere that the fish are. It's not a search bait. I like to use it when I know a good spot. Maybe a deep rock pile, or you see a brush pile, or you just see fish on your screen. Those are ways and times when this bait excels. You could fish it very much like a jig, like I said, but it's almost completely weedless. There's no head to get hung up in the crevices of the rock. It's just a soft bait on a Texas rig. I mean, the weight is actually in the bait because they are so heavy. So you don't have a bullet weight, you don't have any of that that's gonna get hung up. It's pretty much impossible to hang up. You could do it, of course, but it's not gonna hang up like all these other baits that you would throw out there, even less than a shaky head or a drop shot. Those are gonna hang up more than this, which is why they're so good. The other thing I really like about them is they skip extremely well. That's just because they're so compact. You could skip this thing very, very well. I was completely surprised on how well I was skipping the first time I tried it. If you aren't a very good skipper, or you kind of getting into it, try a bait like this. That's a great way to fish it as well, to get to those fish that you can't get to easily with other baits. So really like them for that. So like I said, really the most experience I have is with the Depths Cover Scat. It is the first one I use. It works very, very well. Good colors, very heavy, does all the things you need to do. The other one I started fishing when it came out this year is the Yamatanuki. So it's a little bit different. This is the bigger size, but it's got that little weird tail on the end of it. So it's definitely different than the Cover Scat just in how it looks, but it's also very heavy. It's great because it casts well and it sinks very fast. So I use this with my son, who's 8. He's really impatient. We all are at that age. He's good with the wacky rig, but this makes it so much easier for the bait to get down there. So really he has more of a chance of catching fish. I've found it to be very good for that. It's kind of a little side note, but it sinks really fast and it has that same appeal that a Senko will. I really like it as well on a bed. Obviously you can use a lot of different things on bedding fish, but it's just something different, kind of compact. They don't see that weight. I've had really good success fishing these on a bed. It's very easy to cast out there, and again, it sinks right to them and it works really well. I haven't used the smaller size yet, but I imagine it's gonna be the same thing, just a little bit downsized. So those are kind of some situations that I use them. Now with hooks, that's one other thing that's kind of unique. You want a hook that is not going to be too big in this. It's a big bite to it. I like not necessarily the extra wide gap. My favorite hook for this size is the Gamakatsu hybrid hook. So an extra wide gap will work, but I like the Gamakatsu hybrid, which is kind of in between the extra wide gap and the round bend. So it just fits, it seems to fit a little bit better on there. So I'll show you this one. This hook's actually maybe a touch too small, but I'll show you anyways. So you can see it's got a hook slot on top, which is awesome, keeps it protected. You really don't even have to texpose it. You can just barely slide it in there and then you're ready to hook. But you can see how well that fits on there. You know, it doesn't overpower with the big giant extra wide gap. Really like that hybrid hook for this. For the smaller one, I found this is an excellent hook for it. This is the Ryuji Pierce hook. Pull one of these things out because they're really unique. They got this kind of keeper deal on them, but it just seems to fit really well in those smaller size cover scats. See that thing? It's kind of like a spring or a screw, I should say, that slides into there, holds it really secure. It's really small, but it's light. You know, I actually fished this one on spinning. Again, it skips incredibly well, something different. It's a great fall. So that's kind of the rundown, my experience fishing these baits. You know, they're here to stay, very popular. You know, these poop style baits, if you haven't tried them, try them. I mean, they work, they catch fish, not a joke. They really catch fish. So appreciate everyone watching. See you at the next one.